Hi, my name is Tom Boone. I am chair of the psychology department. I would like to spend a few minutes going through some of the information you might need so you understand what it would be like if you were to major in psychology at UMass Dartmouth. So, first of all, we call psychology the springboard major because literally you can use psychology to springboard into any career that you want. Literally, our graduates go off to get employed across the board. You can see them in administration. You can see them in college admissions. You can see them in management. You can see them in software development, human resources, health-related jobs. You can see them in legal professions. In fact, some of our graduates, we've had them go off to become clinicians, both with a master's degree or with a PsyD. We have seen them go off to be lawyers. We've seen them go off to be medical doctors. We have seen them go off to be educators. We have pretty much the full range of careers after majoring in psychology, in part because psychology's big emphasis is on critical thinking skills and trying to understand the factors that impact what you see on the surface, what's going on under the hood that causes what you see on the surface. Okay, so a little bit more about the major. Okay, as a field of study, psychology is the study of cognition and behavioral processes. So it's both how we think and how we act. And it does use the scientific method. So as such, there's going to be measurement, there's going to be data analysis, and ultimately, what we understand about how people think and behave is based upon research. All right. The big focus in terms of learning is how to think critically, to understand how it's not just what you see on the surface, but there are big patterns underneath. And so you learn to break down the problems to really systematically understand what's causing what. Now, have we cracked the full code yet? Not even close, but that's part of what's so exciting. There's still a lot of work to be done in this field. And as we get more and more sophisticated in our research design and our data analysis, we can ask the bigger and more and more interesting questions. It is really a pretty young field, which means there's plenty of room to grow and to learn and to make life interesting and better for all of us. All right, so some of the specific areas you'll see when you study psychology, you'll talk about developmental psychology, how people change as a function of moving through their lives. The biological bases, or the wetware, what is the relationship between the brain and the mind? Abnormal psychology, this is when people don't act exactly in the way in which you expect them to, or act in a way that isn't necessarily helpful to them and they want to change. Perception's often undersold. So much of how you respond to things has to do with how you perceive it. And it turns out that it's not always the case that there's only one way to perceive things. There's usually multiple ways of perceiving things. And sometimes you even have a choice in how you perceive things. Personality is going to be systematic characteristics that exist. They're stable across the lifetime. And there's some really interesting work on how different personalities mix together and get formed and what you can expect them to do. Social psychology is how we all interact with each other and how those processes work. And there's some really fascinating research associated with social psychology. A lot of non-intuitive findings there. Health behavior, so much of good long-term health is based upon lifestyle and behavioral change. If you can follow what the doctors tell you to, if you can adapt a lifestyle that is healthy, you can avoid so many health issues. This is one of the reasons why psychology has become one of the top majors for people going to med school, because it's such an important part of how to remain healthy. And finally, there's interest in just research methods in and of itself and data analysis and how to make sense of the chaos from the and turn it into a signal that you can use and understand and get at what's going on. All right, so let's quickly take a moment and go through our specific degree requirements. You need 120 credits to graduate total. This is mandated by the state. You will accumulate 120 credits or you will not graduate. UMass Dartmouth has no choice in that particular rule. And doesn't all have to be here. but at least 45 have to be credits in residence, and 30 credits, and they're expected to be here, have to be at the 300 and 400 level. All right, that's just overall credits. Now, within those, there's other requirements. One is university studies. Doesn't matter what you're majoring in. If you go to UMass Dartmouth, you're going to need to complete the university studies curriculum. Every student in every college, business college, College of Arts and Science, which is what psychology is part of, nursing college, College of Visual and Performing Arts, and College of Engineering, every student all does university studies, and that's worth about 35 credits. Each college has its own set of requirements. They also need to be completed. There is certainly some overlap between most colleges and their university studies requirements. College of Arts and Science has a decent amount of overlap. And then you have major requirements. And I'm going to go through those because those are specific to the psychology department. And one or two of those intersects with university studies as well. So collectively, I'd say about 70 out of the 120. I say that because a lot of it depends upon what courses you take. Some can be double counted, some can't. About 70 credits, or a little over half of the credits you have, are going to be determined by these requirements. And then the rest are going to be what's called free electives, which means you follow your bliss and take what you want. You might consider it getting a minor. We have some awesome interdisciplinary studies minors. We also have, you could do a second major, and there's some very interesting second majors that are also possible. You might want to major in psychology, but taking a few classes in the business schools, not a bad idea. Taking classes related to how to make computers work better is also a really good idea in the age of information. So there's a lot of possibilities, and you can figure out what you like and go from there. That's what the liberal and liberal arts, you're free to take what you want. All right, so let's go through the coursework in the major. All right, so we have broken it up into pieces. First is Foundation 1. You'll have to take Intro Psych. That's the first course. It's a requirement for all the other courses. And then there's Lifespan Development. There's the biological basis of behavior. There's abnormal psychology. The lifespan, the biological basis, and abnormal and SATs are all 200 level courses, while the intro is a 100 level course. To go past and out of Foundations 1, you must take the statistics course. That is sort of the gatekeeper. It is also a little bit misnamed. Yes, it does involve math, but its primary focus is on the logic of data analysis and how to make sense from the numbers. And so the calculations are done by computer programs, but the understanding, that piece is done by the logical processor in your brain. And that's the piece we want to activate. So again, this idea of critical thinking skills. Once you finish statistics, you can jump into the other requirements for the major. So we have Foundations 2, which includes social psychology and cognitive processes. And both those courses have an emphasis where we're starting to scaffold and build in this understanding of research from an empirical perspective. So you'll read an empirical article too and really analyze not just what they found, but how they found it. And how can you judge whether a study is a good study or not a good study? And then after you finish those two courses, you take a methods course, which includes, it usually has a focus, and there's usually 3 different focuses, 4 different focuses a semester, and an associated lab. I don't know if you can see this based on that. Let me move my face. I don't know if that blocks you or not, but hopefully that freed it up. And with the lab, we have graduate students who are going to coach you through some of the nuts and bolts of how to refine a data analysis, how to graph your findings, how to present in an ATA style, all the helpful things that you would expect. The students have really, it's reported, these lab components have really aided their ability to get this stuff done. And at the end of the semester, we have a big psychology research conference every semester, and all the kids who have taken methods that semester present their findings, as well as the students who are working on their theses and other independent studies, et cetera, et cetera. All right, after you've done Foundations 1 and 2, after you've done the methods, you can you then take a depth or capstone course. I've listed out several examples just to tweak your interest. We have a number more. At any given semester, we offer 3 or 4 of these. We try to rotate through them. You should have some choices if you get through the major with enough time to take this course and graduate. Students have reported these classes are very fun, and they really try to tie together everything that you've learned both within the major and to some degree across the entire university curriculum. The final requirement is you are required to take 2 upper level electives. And again, I've just listed some examples. So there's Intro to ABA, Sex Differences, Personality, Psychopathology. There's a bunch of other courses. And again, these are offered on a semi-regular, often rotating basis, depending upon what's available, what's next up in the rotation, et cetera, et cetera. The electives can be taken as soon as you finish statistics. So that does not require methods or depth capstone to be completed before you get to the upper level electives. So usually what we like to see is by the end of your sophomore year, you finish statistics. This is also a good mark of whether you're tracking to be successful in the major or not. And we want you to be successful, but more importantly, if you're not going to be successful, we want you to move on. Because the main goal, despite the fact that we wish to have as many psychology majors graduate as we can, our primary goal is just to get you done in 4. We would like you to have your great time while you're here, be really effective, and be happily on your way in 4 years. First 2 years of the Foundation 1, you might take one of the Foundation 2 courses in the second semester of your sophomore year, you might not. You get through the Foundations 2 in the first semester or by the end of your second semester junior year, and then you jump into methods and the depth. The electives can jump in as soon as you finish statistics. That is our major. We also have some extra options. Do you have to do these extra options? No, you don't. Do most students do them? A lot of students do them. I don't know about most. It's probably close to about 50%. The ones who do them really enjoy doing them and are really motivated, but you don't have to do them. You just have to finish the major. You may just say, I'm not going to do the extra options in psychology. I'm going to pick up a really cool minor, or I'm going to pick up a second major. There's all sorts of ways you can go with this, but here are the options. So one, I've broken them into 2 categories. One is sort of an applied experiential. So you can do volunteer work for credit. We have a community companions thing, and some of what you do as a work or an internship can actually earn you credit. And it's good to get out there and have that real world experience and be thinking about how your major impacts the way in which you experience the world and the way in which you can help others. We also have, and this is one of the more popular add-on options, a 3-course counseling sequence. So the first one is focused on classroom, and you go through the theoretical pieces behind counseling. The second one is an internship placement. And the third one is a continued internship with more and more freedom as you go. You graduate here, you get a pre-certificate in licensed mental health counseling. This would be something that would really signal to graduate schools that you're interested in continuing in counseling and you've had some experience in doing this. And the internship placements are legitimate internship placements where you're doing work with a client base. This sequence starts the second semester of your junior year in the spring. It's the first class is only offered in the spring. The second class is offered in the fall, and that would be the fall of your senior year. And then the last class is offered your last semester with us. Some students mix it up. If they know they're doing a year abroad, they might do if they can get ahead enough, they'll do their first class in the spring of their sophomore year and then be ready to roll depending on when they take their study abroad. We can work with you, but the timing of when those classes are offered, the first one's in the spring, the second one's in the fall, the third one's in the spring. That's not going to change. But a lot of students, I'd say we vary between 50 to 65, 70 students a year do that counseling sequence. You can also take the first class of that counseling sequence just as an upper level elective without having to do the full counseling sequence. The other area where we see the additional experiences that you can avail yourself of is in research. You can volunteer in a lab. All of our faculty members who are active in research have undergraduate labs where they meet with their students and students help out in the research that's getting done by the professor. You can also be a research assistant for credit. You actually get 3 credits or up to 3 credits. And there the responsibilities are a little bit more than volunteering. You're expected to spend a certain amount of hours every week in a lab, running data management, really learning the ins and outs of it. You can do an independent study. Plenty of our professors take students on for independent studies. And usually there's a specific question or project that gets done during the duration of that. There is thesis research where you can do an undergraduate thesis. This may or may not be done in conjunction with the honors college. We do have students who go to the honors college who also who are majoring in psychology. They'll do a thesis. We have some that aren't in the honors college and they can do a thesis as well. A lot of times you don't know if you want to do a thesis until you really get involved in the process. So some of you be like, I would never want to do that. And then 4 years later, you could be looking at me going, I had a great time doing a thesis. Usually you want to start plugging into that around sophomore year by volunteering in a lab. Junior year, you'd want to do an internship with or an independent study with a faculty member, and then you roll in through your theses in your senior year. We also have a BA MA program. These students will also do a thesis, and their theses will count toward a master's thesis. So typically, there's 4 years undergraduate, and then 2 years of graduate school to get a master's in research psychology. With the BAMA program, you get to drop one of those years. You get to finish in 5 years instead of 6 years, because the coursework gets counted over in a way that it allows for an acceleration. So if you 100% know you want to do this, you would want to check out the BAMA program. And again, that would be following the same track as for a thesis. You'd want to be interacting with the professors by the sophomore year, doing an independent study in their junior year, and really enrolled in the program by the second semester of your junior year. Our faculty is very interested in students. A lot of what we do involves them. We have a nice structure. We have some master's students from 3 different programs. That is programs that we accept students from our undergraduate. I certainly say a portion of our graduate students are from our own undergraduate program. Those are ones who want to continue and go on. Our 3 master's programs are in research, which I've already sort of alluded to. We also have one in clinical psychology, and those students get graduate and take a test and are licensed mental health providers. And then there's also an ABA program, which allows people to train and become applied behavior analysis people. And there's some really good job prospects for those guys. All right, that is what I've got for the facts of what it's like to be in the psychology department. We are a strong major. We are the biggest undergraduate major on campus. Our students do really, really well. And I believe our average starting salary for our graduates is $57,000. That's according to the information I'm being told by the administration who tracks all of that stuff. More importantly, our students report having a sense of community and a sense of being connected to the professors in our department. We are definitely one of the more fun groups to join. So we look forward to having you with us if you want to join our team. Thank you.